This is Odin's Wolf Survival from the Great Forest of Kansas. Today we're doing a few improvised stoves. It's your typical wicking material, which we're going to use cardboard for these. One will be vegetable oil, of which case I'm using canola oil, alcohol, wax, and motor oil, and that would be an extreme emergency sort of thing. You can use motor oil and cardboard and a little can, and it'll burn long enough. It should nearly get driftwood, wet driftwood burning. They burn quite a while. So on this is very used motor oil. So we'll just start, we'll pour it in and let it soak in. And this is an old, you could use any can of cardboard. I mean, it doesn't have to be certain types of cans. Anything will work. That's why I use this one. You could even use a sardine can if you've got it. And this is foul. I wouldn't do this anywhere inside. Make sure it's well ventilated because this smokes a lot. It's not very nice. But we're talking emergency. We're not talking for fun at the beach or picnic or something like that. This is a life-saving sort of thing. And your wick is going to be the cardboard. You should always have a means of ignition of some sort. The other better one that I like, especially if you're outside, because you can add some. We'll go with this one. You can add like citronella essential oil to this and stuff, and actually use it to keep the nasty bugs away. And these are a lot more. These were a lot less expensive to make there for a while when vegetable oil was cheaper. Now the prices are going up. These things are everything's just getting stupid. So again, this is sort of a emergency sort of thing, like power out, whatever, and you have to cook. You can actually cook on these. These will smoke a little bit. Nothing like what that'll smoke. They'll burn quite a long time. Okay, that's all my available oil. Get it to where it's soaking up the cardboard pretty good. I just rolled up a long strip of cardboard, shoved it in there, and trimmed it off. Okay, that's canola oil burning. Alcohol. This is probably the cleanest burn. And it'll burn quite a while. It's not as efficient as using like a Packer stove. But it's a bigger fire. Once that starts burning good, you probably won't really be able to see it, so you have to be careful. And on this, initially what I'm going to do is, for the fourth one, the wax one, that's the one you can carry about in your car. You get you some wax and a tin that'll hold it. Put it over the fire. We're going to melt this down. So we're making our last stove by using one of the other stoves, which is about the way things normally work. The wax is already starting to melt pretty good. I'll just have to watch it so it don't flare. This is melting over the alcohol. This is vegetable oil. And you can see that's motor oil. And it's not smoking as bad as I thought it was going to. I can definitely smell it. You don't want to cook over that. That's just would be bad scene. And we're going to pop this off because got some melted. This is the other one, and you just pour it in. That was a bit awkward. Okay, that will cool off and solidify. I didn't want a whole lot of melted wax in there getting really, really hot because it might flash. I would do this in a double boiler normally, but if you're out and about, you got to be careful doing this. See if the alcohol heats up the water. As you can see, it's burned a long time. Just the top edge of the cardboard's burned off. This doesn't have any white ash on the top, so it's still wicking the vegetable oil up pretty nice. Usually vegetable oil doesn't wick, canola oil, anything like that, doesn't wick very high. Same way with engine oil. So you're going to have to keep your wick closer, and that'll actually make it smoke less, but some of that, like the engine oil, will tend to smoke and just be nasty. The canola oil's got a little different smell to it, and the alcohol shouldn't hardly smoke at all unless you're getting an inefficient burn, which we are, because you can see it. But that's the nature of this sort of thing. It's not efficient. It works in an emergency. This shouldn't be probably done on a normal basis. But this sort of, once you get this going, you can add to it. If you're careful, you won't put it out. And that flame will walk across the top of that and get it burning pretty good again. Okay, I've had this is the 30.5 ounce cup, and you can tell it's pretty full of water. I've had it on the alcohol stove, the improvised alcohol stove, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. I didn't keep track of it exactly. And you can tell it's starting to boil it. It's steaming pretty good. There's bubbles coming up off the bottom. This side over here, is really kind of getting after it. If we put the lid on it, it'll hold the heat in and boil a little bit quicker. And that's just basically a tuna tin along that line, that size, with rolled up cardboard in it and 91% alcohol in it. The 100% isopropyl, or the 100% alcohol, would get a cleaner burn. You wouldn't have the yellow flames so much. But this is what was handy, and you use what's handy in this sort of thing. You know, engine oil, although I really wouldn't want to boil water to eat or drink or anything over that. If I absolutely had to as a necessity, then that would be it. I'm not even gonna try it on this one. I'm not trashing out my cup, because that would just, it'd leave it a foul taste for quite a while. The vegetable oil stove's still doing pretty good. I'm melting the wax on it real slow. It's kind of at a low burn, and it's bringing the wax up, of which you can tell how much I've added to this already. It's still kind of warm. I can see some in the bottom, so it's going to take a little bit more wax. And this is one that once you get everything filled up, let the wax harden up, you can actually put a lid over it and carry it in an emergency kit in your car or whatever for emergency cooking if you have to. I wouldn't use this to heat the inside of your car like some people do with a candle. Use a candle. This definitely wouldn't be the trick. Don't light it in your car, on your car, you know, but a couple of rocks set up around it, you can actually heat water. You could heat up a can of soup, whatever you've got with you. Should bring water up to a boil. We'll cook on this later once everything clears out. I'm gonna do some stuff. Oh, there it is. You can tell right there it's boiling. That's actually kind of cool. Okay, that's a good boil right there. Yeah, look at that. That's impressive. We'll get that lid going again. That was kind of cool where it's popping the lid. There it is. That's a pretty good boil right there. Okay. Now we're going to pop this off, because that was my goal, was to bring it up to, see what it'd bring up to a boil. Don't have my gloves out, and I'm not grabbing that. That's titanium. I know better. Done it once, you won't do it again. We're going to make a cup of tea off the alcohol. You can see how that's burning really solid. Add some more wicking material to it. The alcohol is a much hotter stove, and if you're going to make one, my suggestion is not even to put the cardboard in the can. Put a lid on it if you want to keep foreign crap out, but don't put the alcohol in it. Keep it in a separate container, and then when you need it, dump a quantity of alcohol in there, light it up, because you can put it out by setting another can or cup on top of it. It'll go out. Then you could probably wait till it cools off, pour your alcohol back, what'll come out. And that's, once everything's cooled off, put your lid on it, and the alcohol that's soaked into the cardboard should stay there for a fair length of time. Just don't do any of this hot, because it'll make you hate it. Life has a way of doing that. Heat and thermal energy will transfer very fast and do bad things. We've got just keep filling it up. Like I said, use a double boiler if you've got it, another plate. I'm doing this just on the raw. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do sort of thing. Just be aware, if you're gonna ever melt wax like this, if you get it too hot and it starts smoking white, it's time to usually pull it off because it's gonna catch fire really fast. And the canola oil does smoke a bit. It's gonna smoke, that's just the nature of the beast. It's not nearly as bad as that, but you don't really want to breathe that in either. So again, that's outside, well ventilated. The engine oil, as I said before, last ditch, desperation, gonna die if you don't do it, sort of thing. That's the sort of thing what that's for. This is more of, oh crap, here we go, you know, power out, you can do this. This one is probably the cleaner burn than anything. This one right here on a smaller scale would make a good fire starter on really wet wood, really nasty things if you're trying to get something going and you don't have anything else. That would be good. You can cook on this if you have to. The wax one would be my idea of a travel stove if you have to. You can take a little bigger tin, fit this in it, cut crenulations around the top, light this up and use that. Or use a smaller tin set up like this, cut crenulations in one of these, and then put your cup on top of that, which will allow the gas to come out. We'll set that up later on another. But we're gonna cook on this on another video. Because a friend of mine was asking if it would, if it boil water, you could actually cook anything. So we're gonna do both. We're gonna set it up and we're gonna make tea like we did with the alcohol stove here. And we'll end up doing something on just for grins. Now the wax is starting to boil. You want the wax kind of warm so it pours in. But there it is. That's going to burn quite a long time because it hadn't hardly dropped the level at all. So that should burn, that'll ignite pretty much anything once you get it, if you get something build up over it and just let the heat do its thing over time. This is a slower fire and hotter than what that would be a little bit, it looks like and feels like. But it's not as efficient as the alcohol. The alcohol will make things jump pretty hard. It brought, if I get right down to it, that's probably 27 or 28 ounces of water to a boil in a short time, in less than 15 minutes in all actuality. And it's still going pretty good. And that was several ounces of alcohol that I dumped into that tuna can. It wasn't completely full. I just dumped it in and got the cardboard wet with a little reservoir at the bottom, and it's wicking up out of that. And you can hear it once it gets going pretty good. The alcohol will boil a little, but it's still, there's no ashes besides what the tea bag covers that I threw on there. So it's gonna burn a long time. This is the canola oil burning stove. You can see it's sooty down the side of the can, and we're getting a light boil, as you can see. This is taking about 20 minutes. It's not as an aggressive fuel as alcohol or butane or anything along that line. You'd get a little quicker boil time, but it does work. And as you can see, it's starting to boil and it's getting heavier. So we should have a rolling boil here in a bit. See how long that takes. All right, looks like 23 minutes to boil a Dole pineapple can that's 20 ounces full of water. Off of canola oil. That's not a bad time. I mean, it's not fast, but I've seen worse. And that's a good pop and boil. Anything in there should be dead. And that's a known verifiable size right there, and it is full. So nice burn. Wax stove, paraffin wax stove. We're going to see how that does on a few things at a later date. Today I want it cold. I want it solid before I start this because molten wax is easier to ignite. So we'll get this going. We'll get everything set up. I'll wax up the bottom of my titanium cup as we make more tea, and the bottom of something else is we make something out here just for grins. Thank you for watching. This is an improvised stove video, and again, this is Odin's Wolf Survival. I would appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and share. It helps with the YouTube.